So can I talk
Oh,
about
no,
some of my can I talk about some of my prep that I've
yeah,
done?
you're the one that's gonna have most of the information here
We didn't.
because
Some of it. But someone else, this was pointed out in our Discord, and I cannot just not address the Discord mention.
can we mention the EQ in the room?
Yes, we can. We can mention the EQ in the room. So I have on equation, I have on occasion gone overboard with prep for game launches, patches, etc.
Yes.
I've been involved in guilds, not necessarily in WoW, because you know how I complain
Yeah.
about WoW players taking things too seriously sometimes. So maybe
Yeah,
I do that
those
sometimes in
complaints come
EverQuest.
screaming out of you.
So sometimes I might do the same thing in EverQuest. I might put a little too much planning.
He is definitely not a mere casual in EQ.
You can't be though. It's not a game that you can play casually. So so probably like I've been okay. I'm gonna start that sentence over again. So there have been a number of expansion releases because they drop a TLP server every year, a time lock progression server that releases expansions every couple months. And if you're in a guild that wants to kind of fight for being the top of the server, then every 2 months, sometimes 3 months, every 2 to 3 months, when a new expansion comes out on these servers, you have to do your prep and then you have to book your day off and then you have to grind your levels and do that raid so you can get server first for the raids. So I've done that a few times. But the one that probably takes the cake, and I think it's been like close to a year since I've told this story on the podcast, and hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully new listeners are not going back and listening to the older episodes because holy crap, they're bad. I don't think I've told this story since the early days of the podcast, so I'll tell it again. So
Is it going to be long?
it's going to be short. I will keep it short. I will talk fast, and I will leave out extraneous details. So there is an
Okay, yeah.
expansion. There's an expansion, 7 or 8 expansions into EverQuest that introduces a new class called the Berserker. So the server that I played on seriously most recently had a free trade rule in place. So all of the loot that would normally not be tradable or bind on equip, bind on pickup, whatever, you equip an item, you can't trade it anymore. And wow, it's like that in EverQuest. You pick up an item, you can't trade it. But this server had a rule set where everything was tradable and sellable. So they have these planes of these planes in the original expansion for the game that you go and you can kill the mobs and they drop class specific pieces of armor. What was that? Oh, your can. They drop class specific pieces of armor. And those class specific pieces of armor were like the prestige gear in the first, like in the classic vanilla version of the game. So people would collect that and wear them, and then once they got upgraded, they'd throw them in their bank. So the hold on, 4th expansion of the game, basically you've progressed so far beyond that gear that it's just not useful anymore. So they added a quest to the game where you could go to a zone and you could hand these pieces of gear in for a tiny bit of experience at max level and like a gem, like a diamond or a sapphire or something that you could then vendor for some gold. So what I figured out was, okay, these pieces of armor are now tradable. They used to not be tradable, and they take up a full inventory slot each. So I was like, okay, I'm going to test something out. So I made a level 1 character. And I handed that level 1 character one of these pieces of armor, and I took it to the quest guy, and I turned it in, and it gave me like a bunch of experience, like 2 or 3 turn-ins for a
I know what
level
you're getting
at
at.
level 1. I know, you know what I'm getting at. So I'm like, wait a minute, does this keep giving me good experience? So I get like a level 20 character, and I hand some in, and it's still a sizable chunk. So I'm like, okay, I got to do some math here. So I went through characters and I started level 1 and I'd get a level, turn in a piece of gear, get a level, turn in a piece of gear. And basically I tested the turn in for every level from 1 to 60, knowing that the level cap was going to go up to 65. And oh no, it wasn't. It was staying at 65. Never mind. From 1 to 65. And I figured out exactly how many pieces of this gear I would have to save up to when this expansion dropped with the new class to level a character of this new class from level 1 to 65, doing nothing but these old gear turn-ins. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start preparing for this expansion. So I started preparing for that expansion, I think like 4 months before the expansion came out.
Yeah, that's the only time Josh made me play.
Yeah, I made Sam help with some stuff.
You
So
still lost.
I'm getting to that. Let me tell the story, Sam. So starting months, like, and I mean months before the drop of this expansion, I started going to the plains where this gear drops every day because there's a 4-hour respawn on the mobs. So I'd go at like, I'd get up, if I worked at 7, I'd get up at like 5 and I'd go in and I'd farm these zones and I'd collect the gear and I'd go to work and I'd work for the day. I'd get off work, I'd come home, I'd kill all the mobs, I'd collect the gear, I'd go do some other stuff. And then before bed, I'd kill all the mobs, I'd collect the gear. I had a system. I was farming these zones like 3 times a day, sometimes 4 times a day on days off. I made an army of alts because these pieces of gear take up 1 whole bag slot each, and you have limited bag slots. Like I could only hold, I think, purchasing extra bag slots and perks that gave me bigger bags. I was able to hold like 70 or 80 pieces of this gear per character. And my math told me that I needed about 8 to 9,000 pieces of this gear to level from 1 to 65. So this means that I had maybe 5 accounts worth of characters with all of the character slots full. I even bought the extra additional character slot expansions. And I had all of these mules holding all of these pieces of armor. I had the mules all name coded for the type of armor. I had it all organized in the bag. I had a spreadsheet because each piece of armor gives a different amount of experience. Breastplate and legs gives a little bit more than a bracer item. So I had them all cataloged and put into a spreadsheet and worked out exactly how much experience I was getting from what each mule was holding. And I had spreadsheets and documents and a whole bunch of stuff set up for when this expansion finally dropped, right? And this expansion was due to drop at, I think it was around noon on the 30th of March. And I remember it was the 30th of March because
We all had
I had
COVID.
COVID the week before. And I was like, oh no, what if I don't make it? I've done all this preparation. And then the day of, that morning, I got a migraine. And I was like, no, I can't miss this. I can't
No,
not
you
do
were
this.
like full swing COVID when this happened.
I know I had COVID, but I also got a migraine that morning too.
Because I help you, but I'm also like passed out on the couch.
I tried to make you help me. You refused.
Like I slept for 2 days.
I know you refused to help me with my mission. So anyways, is despite being super sick, I had put all this preparation in. So I was like, I'm doing this, and I'm sitting there and we're waiting for the expansion to drop. And as soon as it drops, I make this new character, and I've got my 4 computers open on the desk in front of me, and I've got one hand on my keyboard over here, and I'm running my brand new character over to the zone that I need for the turn-ins. And on my other hand, I'm running my guys over to the mail system and I'm mailing pieces of gear. You can only have up to 50 items queued in the mail at a time. So I'm mailing my guy bags. And as I'm taking it out of the mail, I'm mailing more with my left hand and I'm doing the turn ins and I'm running back and forth. And it took me just over 6 hours of mailing and running back and forth and doing turn ins to take my guy, my Berserker, from level 1 to max level without killing a single mob or without leaving the sanctuary zone while I was doing the turn ins. And that I felt was an accomplishment. And it took a lot of planning. And I had even booked the day off work, although it turns out I didn't need to because I had COVID and wasn't allowed to go to work anyways. But it was that's my greatest achievement in gaming.
Now, were you the first?
No, I was not. I was almost
If
the
I
server
helped
first.
you probably would have.
If Sand had helped me, I might have been the server first level 65 Berserker. But I missed out
Sorry
by
that
about.
I was dying on the couch.
You
Sorry,
better.
so you couldn't do it on your own?
I almost did. But here's the catch. Here's the catch. I was almost the server first. I missed it by about 10 minutes. And I missed out to a person who was being power leveled / boosted by an entire group of max level players that were taking him to the high level zones and just AoE killing everything. So they did not do it solo. I did it solo. I did all of the
So-
farming solo. I did all of the
Mob
running
tag.
back and forth. What's that?
So mob tagging, basically.
Basically mob tagging, yeah. So they had a whole team and they beat me by 10 minutes. So I was the first solo Berserker. And to the best of my knowledge, I mean, I could be wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, I believe I am the only person to level a 1 to 65 Pacifist Berserker in EverQuest in the Gates of Discord expansion. I don't think anyone else has done that because there has never been any other servers that have allowed it with their rule sets.
That's just Berserk.
Okay, can we move on?
And fun fact, the new server that's coming out this May,
You're gonna start right away, aren't you?
there is strong indications. Oh, I can't farm it right away. I need a few expansions in to get to that point. There are strong indications that it is going to be the same free trade rule set. So I'm planning a Pacifist Berserker round 2. Thank you for watching, and please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. If you don't, Alan will deem this video a failure and he will punish me. Please, I can't take any... Help me. Help me.